Hi, my name is Benjamin. I'm 9 years sober. I continue every day to look to help others, to give back to those who have helped me, and to the community that's given me everything back into my life.
I'm Heather Champion. I'm a licensed mental health counselor with a private practice. I met Ben while working at an outpatient treatment center called The Retreat that's not here anymore. We've maintained our friendship since then and enjoy taking time to talk about therapy and our lives as champions.
Disclaimer: the content of this video is intended for informational use only. It is in no way intended as a replacement for medical or psychological advice. Should you have a medical or psychological issue, please consult with a medical professional. Hey everybody, we're back. It's season 2, episode 2 of the Real Champions podcast. I am Heather Champion.
I'm Benjamin.
And today I was just talking to Ben a little bit about the struggle. I kind of joke around about the struggle. And my part of what I do is I am a clinical supervisor for people who are trying to get licensed here in Florida. And one of the things that they often talk about is how hard it is to get started in this field. Because you need to do your grunt work in the beginning. And if you're going to work in private practice, then that means not really working very much because you got to build up your caseload so you can make some decent money and get your hours done super fast. And it is hard. It's a grind. It is really difficult to get started in this industry. Because if you work at an inpatient center, like some of the stuff that Ben has been experiencing lately, you have to deal with a lot of the difficulties as far as politics and the difference between good treatment and good care. One of the things that we kind of talked about with one of my other supervisees was in an inpatient setting, what is that difference between good treatment and good care? Good treatment means that there's boundaries and people are going to get angry. Good care is everything is great. You're having a wonderful spa experience.
I see for myself in treatment. Good care and good treatment. I think of good care with the therapist. Good care is you really feel connected to your therapist. You feel like your needs are being met and you feel heard, most importantly. Good treatment, I think, is like you said, it's structured, you have routine in your day. Your groups are kind of aligned with where you're going and your hopes of recovery. But I think both of them wrapped together is the best form, is you're able to go see a therapist, your therapist, and really work on those things that you learn from group work, vice versa, to really give you a good idea of what treatment is in total and gives you a good outlook on when you get out of treatment, what individuality therapy really is going to look like. You bring a problem to your therapist, you work on it, you go back out into the real world for a week, you work on, the coping mechanisms your therapist and you discussed. And then you keep going back and forth and really leveling out what the needs are that you really need to work on throughout your experience in the real world again.
Well, I think good treatment is uncomfortable.
Yes.
So
It is done right.
if all I'm concerned about is the comfort of the person that's in my center or is coming like, let's say here to talk to me here, if all I'm concerned about is your comfort, then I'm not doing good treatment.
Sure. Yeah. The main point that I've found and what I try to impress on the clients and anybody I deal with is you have to become uncomfortable to make the real changes you want in life. And that is what a good therapist is going to do. They're going to force you to look inside yourself. At some point, they're going to stop giving you the basic answers that you already know and force you into a spot of uncomfortableness where you have to respond with things you already know to do that you just don't want to say out loud because in our own minds it's too simple. So why would I say that? When reality is usually the simple things we want to say to the therapist are what we really need to say to begin with.
Yeah. I think that, anything worth having is not easily obtained. And that comes with the growth that we need in order to be the person we want to be. And that is why the struggle exists. Because if you didn't have the struggle, if you just walked out of school or walked out of, walked into a treatment center and it was like a spa experience, you wouldn't have grown from that experience. One of the things I say to people all the time is that obstacles are our opportunity to learn more about ourselves. And I think that we need them. We need it to be a little hard. We need it to be difficult. We need the bumps in the road. If I think, with my supervisees and they complain about how hard it is, that they either have to do this grunt work at these treatment centers that are kind of shady sometimes and they don't really do the right thing, as far as that treatment versus comfort thing, or they're struggling to make ends meet, and is some sort of a private practice trying to build a caseload. Well, caseloads take years to build. I moved, a year and a half ago. I'm still rebuilding my caseload from moving a year and a half ago. I'm getting close, not quite there yet. But that's the thing, that life gives you the opportunity to make the change. These things don't just happen. It's not just like poof, like let me wave my magic wand and now you're a completely different person. That's not going to happen, right? It's work. And just like, sometimes I'll use the example of going to the gym. If I want to like if I want to build up my biceps, right? I'm going to have to do a lot of work on my bicep to make the bicep. And it's not always going to be fun. It's not always going to feel good. But the end result is what it is that I'm looking for. It's not the process.
And I saw something cool about this the other day, like a TikTok or something, where it said the same thing about the gym, but almost being happy with the routine that you're actually going to the gym.
Yeah.
The fact that you're making it every day to the gym to get those results is actually the real work, is going to the gym
Mhm.
and then doing the work inside the gym to see those results. But the real pat on the back comes with you went to the gym a couple times in a row. And that just stuck out to me that, yeah, we all want the end results of what the gym's going to get us, but getting to the gym is actually the hard part.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't look at that victory. They want to look at the victory of, oh, I got bigger muscles now. Really, you started a positive, healthy routine for yourself. That's the real victory. The results are, yeah, you look better, but the real cool thing is you have an hour of your own time now that you get back that you get to work on yourself. And
Mhm.
now it's built into your routine, which is healthy.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a gym rat. I will be the first to admit to being a gym rat. I'm there Monday through Thursday religiously. Fridays are a struggle. It's my day off. Sometimes I just don't want to get out of bed and go down there. I can make it maybe once a month on a Friday, but not super frequently. But that's the thing. Like my routine at the gym is not necessarily to get a high and tight booty. I get a high and tight booty because of the things that I do. But the goal is so that I can walk, because I have some significant spinal problems that I have some really that has caused really bad arthritis, and I have enormous amount of pain. So the exercises I do is to keep me out of an orthopedics office. Like I don't want to go there yet, right? I don't want to have to go and have surgeries or things done. So I try and work on the stuff that's going to keep me out of there. I know eventually I'm going to have to get my hip replaced. They might have to put some pins in my neck to hold it up. Um, it's just, these are not fun things. But the alternative to that is not being able to walk, right? For me, it's a little bit different because I know that. And, people that see me, they're like, my God, you're in such great shape. I'm like, yeah, well, I don't work out so that I can be in good shape. I work out so that I can walk, because the pain that I experience if I don't work out is pretty enormous. So for me, the struggle is an everyday thing. If we look at the gym as part of the struggle, it's an everyday thing. It's if I don't take care of myself, then I will fall apart. literally. Like I won't be able to get up. I won't be able to. When I took some time off from the gym a few years ago, we had one really, really bad cold snap. I couldn't walk up my stairs. I crawled up the stairs
Oof,
and I had to come
that's
down
no
on my
fun.
butt. But yeah, and the dog. My dog has really bad arthritis too. The arthritis was that bad, and it's now probably about 5 years since then. And if I just take a day off, I can feel it. It gets
Oh,
bad.
wow.
It's bad. My arthritis is really, really bad, especially in my spine. So, it is what it is. Like I have to put the effort in every day. And I think that we forget that anything worth having does not come to us easily, that we have to work for it all. And if you really, really need something, if you really, really want something, if you want to be a great therapist, you're going to go through the crap that you're going to need to build up and build up all of the ability in you and to force that drive to be a great therapist. If you want to change who you are, you're going to get every single painful event thrown at you that can happen that will force you to be somebody new.
It's going to force that change. It's going to be events that did you work on those things you said you worked on, or are you still fighting the change that's going to help you inevitably become the person you want to be?
Mhm.
I think what you said about the gym is great too, because I think a lot of us walk into the gym thinking we're all in there for the same reason, to get bigger muscles, to look better. But I think that relates to therapy. We all walk into therapy thinking, oh, we're all depressed and have anxiety. That's why we're all here. When reality is, we don't know what's going on in somebody else's head, in somebody else's story.
Mhm.
I think a lot of people assume we all go to the gym and get muscles, but I think you broke it down right. Is no, you're actually there for another reason. It may look like that, but we all have our own reasons for doing things. No matter if we're surrounded by everybody doing what we think is the same thing.
Yeah.
And then that leads into good for people working in treatment, where people have gone through treatment, is we're all here for the same ideal reason, but we all have to go through it differently and get the same type of results.
Mhm.
And it's going to look different for everybody how we get to that result. But the end result is hopefully we get to where we want to be, not where somebody else says we should be, but where we want to be and where we know we can continue our growth.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, the struggle is part of it. You have to go through the struggle. I don't think that there's an easy way through it. And it's funny because a week or two ago in supervision, one of my girls, they're all like millennial aged. They're all in their 24, 25 years old, which cracks me out because I'm like, oh my God, I'm so much older than that. Like I'm twice their age. But in any event, like we're talking about these things, and one of the girls was talking about how her client was being very selfish. And she's like, this is so not something that somebody from my generation would is supposed to say, but it's not all about you. And I was like, yeah, yeah, we all have to figure that out. It's not all about me. And I think that a lot of that generation looks for things to be easy. I think they look for it to be easy. I think that there's like this mentality that came from probably my generation and try to because we struggled for a lot of things. We struggled through a lot of things. And all of my generation wanted to make it as easy for their kids as possible. So now we have a generation of kids, that are half my age that think life should be easy and things
Oh, I
just
think the internet did that to them too. You can look anything up anytime you want it.
Mhm.
Um, but I think, like you were saying about the struggle being worth it and everything we go through. My dad the other week went in, my last week at the last job on Friday. He calls me as I'm leaving just to check in, and he said, "I got a story for you." I said, "Okay, let me know." I guess he was in our local grocery store where I worked, and got in trouble for drinking and everything. And he was in line, and there was an old lady in front of him who was had a cake with her, and it said 10 years. And my dad just assumed, maybe for a grandson or something. So we asked the lady, and she said, no, it's actually for my sponsee.
Hmm.
My dad said, oh, you mean like in a program? And she said, yeah, she's celebrating 10 years. And my dad had the opportunity to share my story, and then I'm coming up on my 10 years. He said, Ben, I paid for that lady's cake because that's the right thing to do. That's what you would have wanted. And it reminds me that, yeah, my struggle for the last 18 years or whatever it was hell when we were going through it. We can all admit that. But in that one moment on a random Friday, all my struggle was worth it for my dad because he got to relate to somebody else that we can make it through these things, that there is hope on the other side. And you never know when that's going to come. Can come 10 years later, can come the next year, come the next day.
Mhm.
But as long as we continue to work on ourselves and continue to try to be the best versions of ourselves day in and day out, and we're going to fail many of those days, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It's allowing that failure to make who you are that's not okay. But I think that's something we all need to learn and live with every day. That's why I
Mhm.
always speak very much to my clients about get a group of morons, get a group of friends that you can be your 100% honest self with day in and day out. That you have those honest check-ins where you don't have to worry about the feedback being negative. If they're your friends, they're going to give you negative feedback in a way that's going to make you laugh and remember who the heck you are and to go do those things that you need to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the coolest friendships you can create. And that helps the struggle. It helps remind you that you're human. One of the greatest gifts returning to this job that I got is the clients ask how my group of moron friends are. And when I told them they're a lot of the reason I'm back, they
Mhm.
all were very, very happy, and it helped them understand what the point of all those stories was.
Mhm.
And when you need them the most, they're there. And one of the biggest reasons I am back is because of this group of guys I have that don't talk about feelings and emotion. They're all country boys who, you know, talking about emotions is very scary for them. We're hard for them. And one of the things that stuck out to me to come back here was they all reached out and said, you haven't sent one emotional TikTok or Instagram post since you left. What's going on with you?
Mm.
And that was a big sign to me that that struggle was currently happening. I wasn't recognizing it. The struggle of finding out who I was again, the struggle of where my passion lied. Um, but if you have good people around you, they can tell you in the most fun, loving way of, "Hey, check on yourself. You need to fix some things." Um, so I think the struggle is one of those things that you have to be honest with yourself, and it's a day in and day out thing.
Yeah.
The only way to really fail at that is to let it fail with you.
Mhm.
But if you keep trying, you keep attempting, you're going to find the right people to support you.
Well, the right people to support you may not be the people you think it is. There's a big difference between being nice and kind.
Very true. Yes.
Kind is when you see somebody walking out of the bathroom with toilet paper stuck to their foot, you run over and say, "Oh, let me grab that for you." That's being kind. Being nice is pointing out to that person that their hair looks good and letting them walk out with the toilet paper stuck to their foot. And that's like and I say that to people like there was one day where I had brought lunch. I had lunch at work in between. I had a little bit of a break, so I like had lunch at work and I continued working through the day. And then when I finally had a break and went to use the bathroom, and I realized that what I ate for lunch had spinach in it or kale or something like that, and it was all in my teeth. And not one person the entire day said something about it. And I was like, what the hell? Like, why didn't everybody say anything that like I had spinach in my teeth? And the next time I saw those people, I asked them, like, why didn't you tell me I had spinach in my teeth? And like, well, I didn't want you to get mad at me. I didn't want you to think I was being mean. And I was like, no, that's being nice is not being kind. You should have been, it's better to be kind and tell somebody something they don't necessarily want to hear, but they need to hear. Just like get spinach in your teeth, how they're like, why don't you run to the bathroom real quick? I'll wait for you. That's a big difference. And it's like, I joke around about my family. We have a ton of really funny stories, and I mean like hysterical stories that we share, you know. And a while back, I brought a friend to that probably we're not really so much friends anymore. Had a difference between understanding between nice and kind. And I brought them to Thanksgiving dinner at my cousin's house. And as we were walking out, my aunt says to my friend who's like behind me as we're walking out saying goodbye, take care of this bitch. The entire ride home, my friend was like, oh my God, I can't believe your aunt said that you were a bitch. I can't believe she said, and you were standing right there. I'm like, she wasn't saying it that way.
Mhm.
You know, my family is the type of family that will put you in your place real quick. And they will they will let you know what's going on. They might do it comically, but they're still going to do it. And that's the type of like kindness that we need. We
Mhm.
need that type of kindness, you know, and we might feel like my family doesn't support me or so and so doesn't support me, but they do. They're just making sure your feet stay on the ground.
Yeah, it's not always the support that we think we need that is actually what's needed. And like you said, that's the difference between good people in your life and just people who are going to co-sign your BS every day.
Mhm.
You need people to push back. You need people to look at your best interests when you're unable to look at it because you're stuck in a problem that you can't see a solution to yet. You need people to counteract you. You need people to really hold firm, like you said, and the boundaries that really should be there for you, but you're letting go because you're in a different solution based idea that's probably not the best one for you.
Mhm.
I think this whole thing is we have to look at ourselves first and really see what we want to do about the struggle we're in. And then we got to know who to reach out to. Like you said, there's right support for certain situations or wrong support for others. Um, I know for myself, my mother's not the support system I go to when I need to have an honest conversation because we get into it. My dad's the one to go to for that. If I need somebody just to make me feel like the world is full of butterflies and rainbows, I'll call my mom. But you need to know where your support lies and who's best for those certain things. Because if not, you're going to run yourself in circles thinking the solution's lying with the wrong person.
Yeah. Yeah. Or feeling like you're never heard. And feeling unseen and unheard is where all of these problems really start.
I mean, that's the truth.
Maybe that's something we'll talk about on another episode, but that's it for today. Thank you everyone for listening, and we will see you next time.
See you next week.
Real Champions Podcast, Season 2, Episode 2, The Struggle. What does it mean to be a champion when that's your name? The Real Champions Podcast is co-hosted by Heather Champion and Benjamin Champion. It's edited by Heather Champion. Produced by Maitri Counseling Services, all rights reserved. Questions or comments can be referred to Heather at Maitri Therapy, MAITRI-therapy.com.
You are not alone. Remember, if you or someone you know is struggling with thoughts of suicide, please call the National Suicide Prevention Hotline at 1-800-273-TALK. For local help, dial 211 on your phone to be connected to resources in your area. If you experience mental health or substance abuse issues, please call the National Alliance or Mental Health or NAMNI at 1-800-950-NAMNI. Or in a crisis, text NAMI, NAMI, to 741-741. Check out the NAMI website, nami.org, for additional resources.